First of all, I will share brief information about them and then they will share their experiences. 3009 nights. This is an international competition this year. Lyle, a young newlywed Palestinian school teacher, is arrested after being falsely accused and sentenced to 8 years of prison. She is transferred to a high security Israeli women prison where she encounters a terrifying world. And this is the story about that. Writer, director, producer Mai Masri is a Palestinian filmmaker. She directed and produced several award-winning films that have been broadcast on more than 100 television stations worldwide, including PBS, BBC, Channel 4, France 2, RAI, RTBF, YLE, SBS, NHK, Al Jazeera and Al Arabiya. Her films have received over 60 international awards, including the award in Italy 2003, Asia Pacific Screen Award in Australia 2007, and Tailblazer Award in Cannes 2011. We welcome you, ma'am. Baby Alone. This is in cinema of the world. A history about love and the absence of love. Violent journey of self-discovery. The story of Baby Alone unfolds right in the heart of modern Europe. It is a continent that has committed itself to providing its future generation with everything that they need. Donato Runoto co-founded. As a producer, he has overseen over 18 feature films. Baby Alone, based on the novel Amok by Tullio Forgianri, is his second feature. We welcome you also. RAMS. RAMS is in international competition. When a lethal disease suddenly infects Kiddy's sheep, the entire valley comes under threat. The authorities decide to cull all the animals in the area to contain the outbreak. This is a near-death sentence for farmers, whose sheep are their main source of income, and many abandon their land. But Gumi and Kiddy don't give up so easily, and each brother tries to stave off the disaster in his own fashion. So this is the film. We welcome you. Now I'll request Mai Masri, kindly share your experiences about the film, about IFFI, and about the audience response. What you are getting, please.
Okay, 3000 Nights is my first feature film, actually, after many documentaries. It was shot in a real prison, and it's inspired by the true stories of Palestinian women prisoners, and in particular a young mother who gave birth to a child in a prison. So this was my main motivation to make this film. Her personal story touched me very much, and I felt it was very, I needed to make this film. It's a film about motherhood, first of all, in the most difficult circumstances. And it's a film about women coming together and finding their strength through their community. And it's a film about resilience and resistance, and mostly it's a film about hope. I'm very happy to be here. It's my first trip to India, and Goa is beautiful. My screening is today, so I'm really excited about meeting the Indian audience for the first time. I heard they're very enthusiastic and film-loving audience. I mean, India is a huge film industry and example for us all. And I feel very close to the country, coming from Asia myself, the Middle East. I feel very close. So it's great to be here.
Thank you. Now I'll request Donato Runoto. Can you tell about the Baby Alone and your experiences?
Well, thank you. It's an honor to be here. It's my first time in India as well. First time in India, and I'm really thrilled to have this cultural shock, actually, because I come from a very, very small country in the center of Europe, which is called Luxembourg. 500,000 of inhabitants in the center and the heart of Europe, sharing a language talked that only 250,000 people talk. So the movie is in Luxembourg. The movie is about love and missing love, and it's about two kids, 12 and 13 years old, who go for a journey, which is a quite a dramatical journey. But the question beyond the movie is the question of the education. We have a rich country, but we still have the same problems. Problems are love and the lack of love, or the education, and the future as we can see it in a tolerant way. If we miss that step, afterwards we can try to build all kind of institution, and we need to build these institutions to help these kids, but if we miss the first step, then it's going to be very hard. So Baby Alone is about, yeah, a dramatical situation, but with a lot of hope as well, hopefully. A lot of sun in a country where it rains all the time. So I'm thrilled to meet the audience later on.
Thank you, Mr. Donato. Now I'll request production designer, he's also actor, Bjarni Massi. Kindly share something about your film and the director of your film.
Yes. Hello. It's really nice to be here. It's my first time as well in India. It was a long travel to get from Iceland to here, and I'm coming from, you know, it's the middle of the winter. It's dark more or less all the day and really cold. So I woke up really late today because I hadn't slept for like 30 hours when I got to sleep yesterday. So nice, really nice to be here. Of course, it's totally different, everything. I really thought I would die on my way in the car. I asked for a beer when I came to the hotel. Was the first thing. Yeah. We shot this film in both in summer and at winter time. So we had to split it up. So we shot the first part in the summertime and then at the winter time. And what happened is we are at the northern part of the country where it's snow there during the winter and you know, through the summer even. But when we came there in December, late in December, and we were gonna shoot our final work 10 days, we had it the winter time, and it started to rain, and it didn't stop raining. So we had to just pack up and go, and we came back in January and worked out. But it never happens. It's always snow there at the winter time. So it worked out really well. It was amazing to do this film in this valley. It's a small valley in the north of the country. The only farmers who lives there. It's there are not many people who live in this valley, and they are all sheep farmers, more or less. Yeah, more or less sheep farmers. And we spent so much time there. We got to know everybody, so that you somehow can see it in the film. It's, yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bjarni Massi. Now, floor is open for question answer session. Please use mic. Please introduce yourself before asking any question. Question, please. Yes, please. Give a mic.
My question to ma'am.
Please introduce yourself.
Yeah, I'm Anup Singh. I'm from the PR team.
Okay.
So just wanted to ask, you have a strong Israeli character. So was it difficult to pitch the film to a Palestinian producer while making film? So was it difficult for you to pitch your film because your film has a strong Israeli character and given to the current condition between Palestine and Israel? So was it difficult for you to pitch your film to your producer with the theme and story of your film?
It was a difficult film to make, actually, very difficult. First of all, because the subject is so it's so powerful as a subject, and dealing with prison and in the Palestinian context, and especially with what's going on today. I wanted it to be very close to the real events, and it's actually, that's why it's based and inspired by a true story. And I found it very interesting. First of all, what attracted me most to the story was the story, the fact that of having a mother having a child in a prison. This in itself I find very appealing to me and powerful, and I think universal at the same time. The fact that it's a prison that's mixed also. It's a prison where you have Palestinian women, political prisoners, together with ordinary Israeli inmates who were there for maybe criminal reasons. So having that mix and that tension, I found very, very also new and different. No one has ever, especially in the context of women, dealt with this specific story. And it was not easy to pitch it, of course, and not easy to find the funds. So that's why a lot of the funding, it's a co-production in the end. We were able to get some funds from Europe and others, from France especially, and from the Arab world, and a lot of personal funds and friends. And you know, this kind of film, if you don't make that, it's impossible to make. You know, you can't expect to find funds easily. And it was shot in a real prison, and the cast even, I want to say something about the cast. They're all very close to the subject. These are women who have either directly been either through the prison experience or their families. You know, so that I felt was very important. And in the end, this film was made because of this, I think, the commitment of the crew and the cast to make it no matter what, because I think everyone felt very strongly that this film had to be made.
Any other question? I'll ask all our guests. You are making films on social issues. Your films are on. Commercially, this decision is correct or not? Please answer one by one. Starting from yourself, sir.
Sorry?
Basically, you are making film on social issues.
Yeah.
Commercially,
Yeah.
your decision is correct or not?
Maybe.
What do you think about that?
Well,
Particularly,
I will answer very strictly,
Yeah, please.
because I'm a producer for 20 years. I have
Please.
a film company for 20 years, and we do just the films that we think that are needed to be done.
Yeah.
I mean, of course there's a strategy, and of course there's money involved, but once we found the topics and the reason why, me, my team, and the people who trust in our company for 20 years now, we find the money. So producing the movie in itself is difficult, but always possible. The biggest problem is not that. The biggest problem is to get it out there.
Okay.
Is to find the audience and to make it live.
Yes.
Because we know why we have to talk about these issues, but still we have to fight to find the place to bring it out. And that is the commercial question at the moment. And it's getting really difficult in Europe, because little theaters disappear. I mean, you can find the ultimate James Bond movie everywhere, but it's going to be very, very difficult to find a very interesting movie like yours, or like yours, or like mine, because it's social issues, and because people want to close one eye and not to see reality, and then they close the other eye and they don't want to see reality. But reality is still there, out there, and we think it's necessary to talk about it.
Yes, I mean, I'm glad Donato mentioned that at least our films get to be made. The struggle is to get them to be widely screened, not just in festivals. But I think there are many different ways of distributing a film. There's the commercial network, which is what we aim for, commercial release in theaters. But then there's also a long life afterwards of our films, and maybe the films that have a message or a social issue, or the films that live longer, not the films that are made quickly, you know, for the season. Our films live for years. You know, I even know from my documentaries, 20 years they're still being shown and more, and they're shown in many occasions, and universities and schools, and that's how you target also audiences that you really care about. And also I make them for my own, you know, and my it's for the history, because nobody's telling these stories, and they tell you, we need all kinds of films. That these films have a strong need, and we need to make them, even if it's at the risk of not being in the mainstream all the time.
Yeah.
Yes, please give mic here. We'll ask one question.
My question is to Ms. Masri, and we've been listening to his directors, filmmakers from Israel as well here in IFFI, and I wonder, I'm curious to know whether in Palestine as well as in Israel, whether film as a platform, cinema as a platform, has helped, for the reconciliation of political reconciliation of both the countries. Has it helped bridge the gap between the two countries?
Yes. I think cinema does raise awareness, for sure, and it gets people to think and maybe even inspire them to do something. And it can change people, at least not change the world, but some people. And I think there's lots of good films that are being made, lots of on both, but Palestinians don't get enough chance to make their films and tell their stories. So that's what we need to tell our own stories too, and reach. I think they get shown. The Israelis see them, and that affects them. I know from my own films, and I've had many discussions after screenings. It really moves people. It's not enough. Film is not going to make a reconciliation. It's a big political issue, that needs to be resolved. But film helps, and film, especially in the Palestinian context, we're so fragmented. We're under occupation, fragmentation. So film, in a way, it kind of reconstructs our country that doesn't. It's not yet a country, unfortunately. We're still under occupation. So it does bring us together and put Palestine on the map in a human way. And I think that's very important.
Next question from.
I have a question again to Ms. Masri. Could you please tell how the children who are born in prisons, like the one depicted in your movie, how does that shape their personality and worldview?
Yes, that's interesting, because I'm very fascinated by that. It marks them forever. Being born in prison is not an easy experience, and usually they spend the first 2 years with their mothers in prison. So the children I've met carry that memory, but they also carry the memory of having many mothers. Because all the prisoners became their mother at one point or another, and I think they have a big respect, especially the boys that were born in prison, for women. Who were their mothers, and And some of these boys have named their children by the names of their mothers as a homage for them. It's symbolic in the end, because prison, the concept of prison is a metaphor for the Palestinians in general. Most Palestinians live that condition, even if they're not directly in prison. So it's, there's always the hope, that remains, despite, there's always that feeling that such an oppressive experience, but there's always hope afterwards. So I always look for that and feel that.
Any other question? It's a common question for all of you. How you are promoting your films? You are using digital media, you are using social media, and any other innovation?
Well, I can just join what was said here. The movies that either the movies that I direct, which are documentaries or this feature film, or the movies that I produce, are prototypes. So every single project has to be, we start again and again every time.
Okay.
Because it all depends on the thematic, it all depends on the characters, all depends on the subject and so on. So we work a lot with schools, we work a lot on education. For me, it's a very important thing. Everything starts there. And we try to have first a traditional release, of course,
Yes.
but then very, very quickly we just point out in the margin the specific audience. And then the movie is just, it's labor, it's work. We have to carry the movie to the people, we have to really believe in the movie. And it takes time, energy, money, but also result, because as you said, might not change the world, but sometimes it changes for one family or for one person the life, and life is better than everything else.
Yeah,
How your director is using some social media or some other
yeah.
platforms for publicizing your
Yeah,
films and
Yeah, it's
promoting.
really similar, but you know, it has been hard for Icelandic films to be just to be shown, but unfortunately that have changed, and it's when we have a change, suddenly there are we have maybe 5 films that has been that internationally people they see them and they then everything changed. Basically, we are 320,000 who lives in Iceland, and out of that, if we have 5 films that are being shown internationally, that's amazing, and because of that, it's a lot of help in that for the film industry in Iceland. And so that is just something that is happening now. So we are just, we are really hoping that we can, just keep on to that energy we have and follow it with even better films. And then, of course, if our government would help us out and, let us, just a little bit more to create those projects we're doing, then, because we know we can do it. But it's a young industry in Iceland, and it has been growing. But today we have really good professional people doing it, and directors. There are young actors up and coming, and it's just I don't know.
May I say a word?
Yes, please.
It's very similar to Iceland. We have 25 years of existence in our industry. So we have no TV, we have no regional aids, we just one fund. And the fund has to help us. So very brand new industry. We only have like maybe 10 feature films in the last 25 years. So my film representing, going for the Oscars is very important for the country, for the language, and to show that Luxembourg is something different than the people think. It's the same for Iceland.
It's really similar.
And I know that Luxembourg and Iceland are going to try to be closer, because our film funds are looking for some kind of way of connecting the two countries. So I'm looking forward for that.
Social media is a wonderful platform. I'm still new at social media, to tell you the truth, but I think it's an excellent way to connect with people and to give information and to share and to get responses. It's a huge job though, following it up.
Yes, exactly.
I think it's excellent, because it's another way of distribution, and that's what we all aim for, is to get our films seen by the widest audience and to get it to live the longest. It's exciting to be able to connect immediately. This is what's new for me, at least, and the fact that everything is live and immediate, and it's very important, I think, for our films. But at the same time, as directors, at least me as a creative, I have to have a space. I can't be totally consumed by the social medias, and I need to have the space to, so it's a balance. That you need to find the healthy balance for that.
Are you getting some financial support from your government when you are preparing, making films, particularly on social issues and?
It doesn't really matter in our case, what the film is about. But we get the fund for it. But it's really hard. There's at the fund there are people working there. They are even they're working on the script. Even the story should be more like this or this. But of course it's changing. And so it's maybe it's hardest for the first film, the second film, than when you're director with your, I don't know, if you have 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 films, then of course it's different. but yeah, but we definitely need a stronger
Support.
yeah. We changed that.
Well, in Luxembourg it is a change for the last 2 years or 3 years that we start doing movies in our language. Because you must know that in our little country we have at least 3 national languages, which is French, German and Luxembourgish.
Okay.
Most part of the people speak 4 or 5 languages,
Mm.
but it's really that we use every day. So, sorry, to open the markets, we were doing a lot of movies in English or in French. But for the last 2 or 3 years, and this is the case with Baby Alone, we go back to our national language. I mean, to Luxembourgish, but also to the content, to the national content. So social matters are important because, yeah, we have to build to write history in our sense. I mean, of course, it's not the same history than Palestine or than Iceland, but it's history as well. We don't have it yet, so there's a lot of work. I mean, there's a lot of things to do.
In your country, ma'am?
In Palestine, we don't really have a film industry, but I'm very happy that there are some major Palestinian films that are being made and shown worldwide. It's mainly by a lot of hard work and personal initiative.
Okay.
We do have some funds from like the Ministry of Culture and some private funds, and I think that's excellent to be able to support our films locally and also look for international co-production. That's how we make our films, and we try to make them on small budgets because that's the only way we can make our films. And with a lot of will and hard work, we make our films in the end.
Any other question? Yes, there is another question from there.
My question is to Mr. Donato in the reference of the movie, Baby Alone. There are many movies based on youth problems like crisis, marriage, and even old age problems. But there are very few movies which are based on early teen or teenagers, because this is the age when we get to learn both good and both wrong things.
Yes.
So do you think more films should be made, in the terms of psychology and the problems of early teenagers? Because this is the time when we get to expose to drugs, pornography, all the right or the good things, psychology changes. So do you think more films should be made in the context of teenager or early teenagers?
I have 2 kids. My daughter turned 22 yesterday, and my son 13. Not the same day, but so I've seen in 9 years difference the difference of the education and the internet, for example, the access to information, access to pornography, access to what they think is the truth. The movie was adapted from a novel, and the guy who wrote the novel is a teacher, so it's true stories. And I mean, what I did in the movie, it was to make it quite harmless, because it's in life it's much more difficult. But in the novel they were 14, 15. When I tried to cast the kids, I said this is not working, because that was the case 10 years ago. Today it's 12 or 13 or 11 for the kids. So I started to cast in schools, and all the kids were newcomers, and they know more than we think. And that's why we have to be aware of that and to catch the moment which moved from 14, 15 to 12, and maybe even less. So as a parent, I'm very aware of that, and for me it's important just to move that balance, and that's maybe one of the originality of the movies. Yeah.
Yes, please.
Yeah, this follows from the answer that you just gave. You said that they know more than and that more than what we think. So in that same spirit, you had a story. You chose your actors. So assuming that the actors knew more than what you think, did your story evolve, or did you adapt your story in light of the way they played their role?
Well, not all the kids have, of course, parents like in the story, and I was lucky to find Charlotte, the little girl who was 12 when I was casting, and Joshua, who's 13. Charlotte is far away from the character of Shirley. She is absolutely a different life in reality. She didn't know very much. Actually, she kissed for the first time in front of the camera. So she was really I had to protect the kids from the characters. That was my first goal. We played the characters. We didn't want to be the characters. That was very important for me. Joshua, who was a little bit older, had a different background, so he knew more. So when I say they know more, I should say they think they know more. They have seen pornography, but they don't know anything about love. So the difference is there. It's the access to everything without a hand that grabs their hearts. And I adapted it to the characters and to the kids, of course. All the relationship with violence, for example, all the relationships with the words, which the real violence in the movie is actually the words. So I spent a lot of time with them, but then again it had to be very quick, because once I had the casting, I had to shoot in the 6 months' time, because at that age they grow very, very quickly, and I wanted them still to be kids. So it was a nice adventure, and Charlotte's birthday, actually, the girl who's playing Shirley, was yesterday as well, like my daughter, so I'm very happy about that. Thank you. You're welcome.
So thank you for all being with us. We wish you all the best for your film,
Thank you again.
Thank you.
for the audience response, and thank you for visiting Goa for this. Thank you. All the best.
Thank you.
Thank you.